Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of the Hi5 series presented by the DH Podcast. Of course, today I'm rocking the GOAT, Bo Jackson. Barry Sanders is also an acceptable answer for this. Any of the other two, no, not acceptable. Just a fact. So, starting off, for those of you that haven't joined for a Hi5 series yet, first off, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. Secondly, we go through 5 of the most important things. We're most likely going to ramp this up to every day. So it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday gig. Now it's most likely going to be a daily video. We're also going to try and put this out on Spotify, or actually all of our channels. So we're on 8 different streaming platforms. So we're going to take the audio from this and upload it to those channels as well. Just the more exposure, the more content is better for everybody. So more in-depth, more up-to-date. That's exactly what people want. Sometimes with the podcast, it's difficult because, we release once a week, which is awesome. And we've been extremely consistent with that since 2018 now. But I don't know, sometimes once a week. If we record on we record on Wednesday, release early Thursday, that sometimes, we immediately miss so much. So we want to make sure that we can continue to get things out in front of people. So we want to start with number 1, Sunday NFL Recap. 2 MVPs of the day. 1, Jalen Hurts went 17 for 30, which isn't anything to write home about whatsoever. But he had 167 yards in the air, and even more impressive, he had over 100 yards on the ground himself. So he threw for a TD. He did not run for one, but this is actually the first Eagles quarterback and running back since Donovan McNabb to be able to put up, both having a running back and quarterback put up 100 yards rushing. So they stunned the Saints, beat them by a field goal. The Eagles have hope, and let me tell you what, that's dangerous. Coming from a Browns fan, that's incredibly dangerous. Actually having hope, because now that Carson Wentz is on the bench full-time and Jalen Hurts is your starter, well, they are 2 games behind. The thing that could be the savior for them is that tie, because some of the other NFC beast teams have a much more difficult schedule coming down the pike. Eagles have more favorable, especially compared to the Cowboys, who are ahead of them right now. But again, the Giants also have a difficult one. So we'll see. The Eagles have more favorable matchups. If it begins to look like it's going to be a tie, maybe it'll end. Eagles have to win out. It's pretty much their only option. And then at that point in time, they'll take the lead spot simply based on having that tie. All right, your second MVP, Sunday Night Football. Josh Allen balled out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He absolutely is trying to shut up all the doubters, shut up all the haters, and it's working. It's working. Over 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the stat that I absolutely love is he went 1 for 8 in sacks. So essentially what this means is that he was in a position to where not only did he drop back, but the pocket collapsed, and the Steelers had an opportunity to sack him. 1 for 8. So he only sacked once, but what that shows me is that shows elusiveness. It also shows that he knows when to either get rid of the ball, when to take the ball himself, or when to just say, screw it, check down to a tight end. So using his opportunities, immense ethic for him on that one. He was 24 of 43. But again, when you beat only a 1-loss team, the Steelers, and I shouldn't say fall, they've lost 2 weeks in a row. They're 11-2 now. They're still the bright child of the AFC North, and we'll get to the rest of the AFC North. Your number 2 and 3 dogs at the bottom end of this. So, number 2, Cleveland Indians. They're going to change their name. I don't know why people are saying nickname. Every legitimate source is calling the Indians a nickname. What? It's not a nickname at all. My real name's Nicholas, but people call me Nick. That is a nickname. But the Indians are on all the paperwork, just like Nicholas is on all my paperwork. It's not a nickname. It is the team name. They're changing the team name. They're not relocating. They're changing the team name. So a couple of ones that are leaders in the clubhouse. Spiders. Most people don't like this, but the reason why it keeps getting brought up is that back in the 1800s, which is, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, the Cleveland baseball team played in the NL. They were called the Spiders. Simple as that. Fan favorite right now is Guardians, simply because they've got a lot of architecture, harking back to being Guardians of the Midwest, Guardians of the Great Lakes, things like that. So, I mean, the possibility for merch on that one alone is going to be unreal. So if they're speaking from strictly just a monetary standpoint, love it. Coyotes, so you can still call them a tribe, because that's what a group of coyotes is called. And then the one thing that everybody said that they didn't want and wanted no part of whatsoever was anything rock and roll themed. So you bet your ass they're going to do that. They're going to just upset everybody, and it's going to be something like rockers or something absolutely dumb as shit to do. So it's been 105 years that they've had the Cleveland Indians name. And so they said they're changing it. I don't know what the timeline is for that. They don't seem to be pulling Washington Redskins in the sense that they're not going to go to the Cleveland baseball team and then change again. So at that point in time, I think it's going to be either this season or they're going to, roll through with the Indians this season and then after next season make the push. I don't know. It's a really, really difficult process because if you're thinking on the back end, you're like, well, as a fan, you think, no, this is super easy. Just change it to whatever you want and then, change the Twitter name, do all this stuff. No, not that easy at all. You have to get website addresses. You have to get Twitter handles, everything like that. You have to attain the rights to these, and then you have to, because the Guardians is a popular name, somebody's already bought clevelandguardians.com, .net, .org. Well, now you have to go and try to purchase that from them, if that's something you want to do. So the administrative functions of the back end are ridiculous. Oh, and then there's a huge Indian sign all over the stadium itself. Now, how are we going to do that? And then, that we now have the new name. How are we going to push out merch? How are we going to design the new merch? There's so many difficult opportunities, and that's essentially what Washington said, is they go, hey, this process is long, but we want to be transparent with people, let them know that's why we're changing the name now. At first, I didn't like that they were just going with the Washington football team. I thought it was stupid. My co-host, Matt, kind of changed my thinking about it a little bit, is that they're actually being proactive. So they're getting rid of the name, and they're spending all of their time now focusing on what's available to them. So that's available. Number 3. Some NCAA football action. Gus Malzahn fired after 8 seasons at Auburn. People are like, well, he won the national championship. He had Cam Newton. It's a what have you done for me now lately business, simply. I know LSU just got an amazing win. We'll talk about that in a second. But if Coach O has another terrible year, then that third season, it's going to be on the hot seat for sure. Because every one of these big programs, the Auburns, the Georgias, the LSUs, the Michigans, the Notre Dame, they want to be Alabama, Ohio State, and even sometimes Oklahoma. You can put them in there. These perennial dogs that are always in the hunt. And nobody says anything about it whatsoever. Nobody bats an eye at it. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that yes, he won a national championship. Yes, I'm sure he loves Auburn. But again, what have you done for me now? And in the answer of Auburn, absolutely nothing for at least 3 seasons. Even New Year's Day Bowl isn't necessarily enough nowadays. If they expanded to 8, maybe, I don't know. Again, now they're looking elsewhere. Early reports are suggesting Hugh Freeze out of Liberty. I love this one. Because Hugh Freeze had an incredible year. So he's definitely going to get a ton of offers. And we'll see what he can do. I mean, the man literally coached from a hospital bed. He was in a box with a headset on, in a hospital bed, still coaching, helping. Awesome. You can't, nobody loves football more than Hugh Freeze. I think that argument could be made. to be fair. LSU played spoiler. So Florida had their only hopes of getting into the college football playoff would have been to beat LSU and then at that point turn all their focus to Alabama in the SEC championship. And then they needed to convincingly beat Alabama so that they could squeak in, so that they along with Alabama could get in. That was their goal. Well, folks, that didn't happen. LSU played spoiler, Shoegate 2020. Dan Mullen's an absolute idiot, but he's protecting his players. I get it by saying that, the shoe, it wasn't intentional, whatever. It was. We all know it was. The dude chucked a shoe, farther than Finley throws the ball. I don't know. So, had that. It was a 15-yard penalty. Puts LSU into field goal range. And boom. Game over. LSU squeaks out 3-point win over the number 6 team in the country. And Florida will be still playing in the SEC championship. But even if they win, they will not be letting a 2-win Florida in. Ohio State's technically going to be undefeated. So you'll be looking at, and the way they played against LSU, they're not even going to stand a chance against Alabama. So you'll be seeing some sort of mix of Alabama, Ohio State, the ACC winner, especially if it's Notre Dame, and then possibly Clemson. Still, we don't know. The Pac-12, they said they have a 50% chance of getting in. Don't believe any of that nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Those teams have 2 losses. There's 0 chance. But again, all these things we hash out so much more in depth on the podcast that you got to just, take a dive, get into the whole thing with us. Number 4, I had to bring this up. MLS Cup was settled. I wanted to give huge props not only to the crew, Columbus crew for winning, but also because out of your open field sports, so by that I mean non-bubble teams, especially in the world of COVID, that the MLS had the best rate of keeping their players safe, keeping staff safe, keeping the staff of the league safe in terms of cases. So they had the least percentage of cases. So you might have more people that work for the NFL. You might have more people that work for the MLB. The MLS did a much better job speaking percentage-wise than any of them. The only person that has done better than the MLS was the NBA and the NHL, but again, they're bubbles, so that's why we want to clarify that open field aspect of it as well. So we'll see. The NBA is just getting geared up, and they are no longer going to. They are also going to be continued in that open field, but it's a new season for them. So the MLS did an incredible job. They're not getting enough credit for keeping their players and staff as safe as possible. And again, congrats to the crew, bringing home another title to Columbus. Number 5, I told you I'd mention this earlier. Monday Night Football preview: 9-3 Browns, 7-5 Ravens. Ravens are on a bit of a skid. Browns haven't lost since the bye week. So this is huge for them in the sense that if they win today, they'll be at 10-3. They will have essentially stamped their playoff spot. Essentially. Again. Essentially. Not 100%. They will not have that X by their name. Because at that point in time, after the Browns play the Ravens, they'll play the Jets and the Giants. It's most likely a 2-0 for a playoff team right there. So getting them to 12 wins is going to guarantee you a playoff spot. Whether that's first in the AFC North, which will still be very difficult because the Steelers are extremely good. People are doubting them now. There's no need to be doing that. They have an incredible offense. Defense still looks solid, especially holding the Bills to, what was that, less than 30? Pretty damn good. So most teams can't do that. Ravens coming off a lot of COVID. They're getting back to full strength. People are doubting them, and there's really no reason to be. They're getting their players back. They're coming around to full form. They're circling back. They're healthy. Watch out. I mean, they've had a lot more time than most teams to prepare for this game, so expect them to come out and play extremely well rested and extremely hard. So I'm expecting a Ravens victory tonight, which would put them in one game striking distance of the Browns, but there's also a good chance that you may see 3 AFC North teams in the playoffs. Sorry, Bengals, it'll be a few more years. And because of that, also contains huge wildcard implications, but of course, we talk through all of those on the podcast. Go find us, our full podcast. If you're here on YouTube, again, thank you. You can find us Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to your typical podcasts. And if you're already here on one of the platforms, thank you. I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you guys soon.